Thanks.
Can you
I'm
hear me?
DJ, by the way.
Nice to
Pleasure.
meet you.
Nice to meet you, Mitch. Thanks so much for doing this for us. Really appreciate it.
No problem at all. No problem at all.
This is Taylor Beck of every single hockey league that exists in the world almost. Played in the OHL, NHL, AHL, KHL.
So at the start, when everything started, I assume for you professionally, that's got to be at the draft. How exciting was that for you?
Yeah, even into the OHL, it was a draft. So we get drafted at the age of 15. So just grow up playing minor hockey, and you kind of at that time you have a choice whether you want to go to the CHL, which is the OHL, QJ, MHL, the Quebec League, or the Western League, which is BC, Alberta, or going NCAA route. I grew up watching a few of my friends' brothers play in the OHL and stuff, so I always wanted to play in the OHL, and that was, getting drafted to Guelph. I know my parents didn't want me to go too far away from home at a young age, and I was really fortunate to get drafted by Guelph because it was only an hour down the highway, so that was probably the most exciting time leading up to my 16 years of life, and it worked out great. And then if you want me to get into my NHL draft, that was 2 years later, just played 2 short years in the OHL, and I can say that was probably the most exciting day of my life, was getting drafted to the NHL. I mean, obviously working so hard towards playing in the NHL your whole life, and then to finally get drafted was the coolest thing to date for sure.
So, Taylor, obviously we haven't met before. One of my side gigs is I'm the color commentator for the Ice Dogs on the radio in town in Bell. So I know a bit about the OHL. I follow it a bit. But you were drafted before that team existed. I'm trying to remember. You played till 2011 in the O, right? So Niagara probably was in their second year then? They moved from Mississauga?
No, they actually, their first year in St. Catharines was my first year in the OHL. And I knew ahead of that draft because my two really good friends, Alex Friesen and Johnson Alex, got drafted. Johnson Andrews, they got drafted by the Ice Dogs, and then they knew that they were going to be playing in their hometown. So that would have been the next best thing for me. But so yeah, four full years I played against them.
It worked out okay for you in Guelph. You've got a pretty good OHL career, like no Memorial Cup or whatever, but plenty of guys play in the OHL without that championship. But the one thing I do have to ask you before we move on from the OHL stuff is, do you hate the London Knights as much as everyone else? Still trying to get hockey jobs, so he's not going to say anything.
Yeah. You know, we always did really well against them. I think I missed their. I'm trying to think. I don't think I played against them when they were amazing any of the years, because we always seemed to handle them pretty good, I think. But it seems like the more hockey, I listen to Spitting Chicklets all the time, and they're obviously making fun of London and the way that they apparently do things once in a while. But it was okay for me.
You were too busy worrying about hockey, right?
Yeah, I think so.
How crazy is it when you're 17, right? Like you get drafted, like you said, to the NHL. You're in your third round. You had just gone through the let's call it the mini draft to the OHL. But like you said, literally, I mean, maybe not when you're 5. When you're 5, you're dreaming about it. But once you're 12, 13, it becomes real work. Like it's not just playing hockey. Yeah,
I think you're accurate when you say that. 13 is probably when I started to like work out and really train. I mean, my parents did an amazing job with not making hockey my whole life. Like in the summer, I would play lacrosse and maybe a couple summer hockey tournaments. And when I hear how much these kids play hockey now, it absolutely blows my mind. As soon as hockey season was done, like I said, I would just be lacrosse, and then until the next hockey season started, so I could actually be a kid and have fun. I think now more than ever, I hear so many stories. These kids are amazing coming up into the hockey world now. So maybe it's working, but I just can't believe how much their life revolves around hockey and only that. But around that time, it really became a job. And then when I went into the OHL, my 16-year-old year, the next step is the NHL. So I always had that in the back of my head after every game, good or bad, thinking of what could come of it. And was fortunate enough to have my 16-year-old year was really a wake-up call. I didn't play much at all. I was really disappointed. Coach liked veteran players, and I remember wanting to go home friggin' half the time, I think. But then my 17-year-old year, I came in and started playing a lot, had a good year, and then was fortunate enough to get drafted by Nashville Predators. So that was great.
No, when you find out, like, Nashville, obviously you're a Southern Ontario native, so it's not your local team drafting you, but are you still like, shit, yeah, it's Nashville? Like, are you still just as excited as you would be if any team grabbed you at that point? Or
Yeah. For some reason, I always thought that Toronto was going to draft me. Like, that's honest. I wasn't a huge Toronto Maple Leafs fan growing up. I probably would have been more of the Sabres. But I honestly just had a feeling that they were going to draft me. And then I think I had one meeting with Nashville at the NHL Combine. So, like, I obviously knew they had some interest, but Nashville's really picked up in terms of hockey over the last however many years when they started doing very well for themselves. But before that, I didn't know too much about Nashville whatsoever. But then when I got drafted, a few weeks later, we're flying there for our first development camp. And that's when I realized how awesome and cool the city was and how much up-and-coming hockey was in Nashville, and fell in love with the city. And the next step was making the team for sure.
Hockey's changed that way, eh? In the like the non-traditional markets, Nashville, San Jose. I mean, they've been around for a while, but they're not like the place you think of these hockey hotbeds. But the cities, like you said, that they can have a lot to offer because Nashville's just a unique place.
Yeah, for sure, and it's really cool to see. Like I said, when I played my first full year in Nashville, I think the year before that they had a good year, and it just seemed like everything came together basically since then. Like, I remember playing the playoffs. We were playing against Chicago, and there was no chance that anyone convinced me that there was a louder arena in the league. And I don't think they knew very much about, honestly, what was going on in the game, but they just knew who was winning. They knew who they wanted to win, and they were just insane for the team. And you see a lot of that now. Like, as you mentioned, the San Jose, Dallas, Tampa Bay is the new one that is really growing. I mean, Florida Panthers still got a long way to go, I think, but it's really cool to see those southern markets doing such a great job.
now we're going to bounce around a little bit
No
here
problem.
because you're talking about playing in a non-traditional market. I can't think of a less traditional market than Beijing, China.
Yeah.
What was it like playing there for 4 years?
I was only there for probably one full year. I was actually in Shanghai. There's the organization there. They have a lot going on. China's always, they have different political stuff going on in the cities and whatever. The first year the team was in Beijing, and then the second and third season that they were in the league, that they were in Shanghai. Now they're back in Beijing. Last year. But the time that I spent there was in Shanghai, and non-hockey wise, it was one of the best experiences of my life because I loved Shanghai. It was amazing, like international city as you can get. It's comparable to Manhattan for sure. And I loved every second there. For focusing on hockey, I mean, it probably wasn't the best place to play because I think some games you could maybe sit there and count the fans from the bench that were at the game. But like I said about Nashville, some games would get loud, and they definitely did not know what was going on the ice, and they were certainly cheering when they were there, which was cool to see. But a lot of travel, a lot of different cultural experiences, and I loved it, and I don't have a bad thing to say about the organization at all.
That's awesome.
Is the travel that much harder in the KHL? Because it spans, like physically spans, geographically spans a much larger area, right?
I think if you go from, I think Riga would be the furthest team. I think it spans 9 different time zones.
Yeah.
9. Yeah, so almost double the size of the US. And it's insane. I mean, I pretty much got the full end of it when I was in Shanghai. We would play a game. We would come home, play 5 home games, and then after the 5th home game, we knew that we'd be going back to Russia. We would take a 12-hour flight to Moscow and then play 1 or 2 games around Moscow, and then work our way back out east to play 1 or 2 more away games. And then our last flight home would be probably about 7 hours. That was the typical road trip. We had a nice like private plane and everything. So in terms of traveling, it wasn't as hard as obviously flying economy, and teams really took care of us, the best hotels in every city and stuff. So it was definitely an experience, and I logged my hours that year for sure.
I've always wondered, like even in the North American sport, this is the thing that I've never been able to process. I mean, I'm not good enough anyways, but like you're trying to be in top physical condition. You're trying to get better in the middle of all this travel. Like you're trying to work out. You're trying to, like, how that must take a toll on the body. It must be challenging to go on a 12-hour flight and then being like, I guess I get on the bike and lift some weights today.
100%. That was the biggest, probably one of the only negative things I would have to say about playing there is I really struggle with that too. I really struggle with sleep when there's different time changes and stuff. They say every time zone that you cross 1 hour is 1 day to get back to normal. So there was some times when we were flying from Moscow back to Beijing, I think it's a 7-hour, or to Shanghai, it's a 7-hour time change. So they say it should take a week to get back to normal. But we were maybe playing a game 3 days later. So I was waking up some game days at 4 a.m., not being able to sleep or nap before a game. So without a question, that was by far the hardest thing to deal with. And they say even injuries can happen more that way. You're not recovering fully. You're not working out because you're not full energized and recovered. And I've never seen more injuries than on that Kunlun team. And I think that's literally the perfect definition of an example of what you just said.
Do you think, not that this is even on the radar, but doing this travel now that you've done it, do you think that there's any chance of like a larger league, like a worldwide hockey league?
I don't see it. I don't see it. Unless planes get 10 times faster, I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't think the economies of it's going to work anyways, but I love the concept of it. Like, excites me. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, another league you played a lot of time in was the AHL.
Yep.
And you were an AHL All-Star, correct?
Yeah.
What's it like being named to an All-Star team of a league? Like, that's got to be pretty...
Yeah, it was cool. If you want me to be completely honest with you guys, that year I was pretty disappointed not to be in the NHL. I think I was scoring so much throughout that season that I think I was with Edmonton to start the year, and I got up a couple times, and one of the first times I'll remember is I was leading the AHL in scoring, and it was after the Friday night game, and then the coach called me into the office and told me, you're going up tomorrow, you're going to play the game tomorrow night, think you're going to play with McDavid and Draisaitl. And I was like, oh, like, amazing. Like, this is the opportunity that, like, I've been, like, waiting for, because I was playing so well. My flight ended up getting so delayed that I had to, like, rush from the airport to the game, got there just in time for, like, warm-ups. And they're like, yeah, we're good. Like, we're going to play you, but we're going to play you, like, fourth line kind of thing. So I think I only played, like, 5 or 6 minutes. that game, and then I was up for a couple more games and then went back down. But I loved my time in the AHL, and I think that's really got my confidence offensively back, and I've done pretty well for myself over in the KHL, and I think that really helped me out that last season in the AHL when I was named the All-Star, and it was obviously a great accomplishment. Obviously, would have much rather been playing the NHL, but as a maybe silver medal, it was a very cool experience. And I actually got injured just before the All-Star game, and I wasn't even able to make the game. But it was certainly humbling to get the call for sure.
So the AHL is a weird league, right? Like by the time you were there, if there was most of the like full goon stuff was probably gone, right? By 2012, 13, still kind of hanging around a bit.
Yeah, maybe a little bit hanging.
But nobody wants to be there, right? Like the whole league is guys trying to be in the end. It's not like the OHL where you're like, well, we can't be in the NHL yet. Let's just be really good here until – now it's guys who are like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah. I think when I started my first year when I was 20, that year I knew that I had to learn the way that the pro game worked, and that was definitely a humbling experience. Just learning how to be a true professional, like completely live away from home and learn how to like really take care of your body. So I think that year I was okay with being there. But for the most part, as soon as I got up my next year for my first NHL call up, then I got a taste of the NHL. And I mean, I wanted to be back in the NHL, obviously, as much as I could. And I think the young guys will appreciate and learn to like the experience. But if you're definitely a bubble player, you're definitely not happy when you're in the AHL. And you know what? That's okay. If you do it the right way, hopefully it burns a fire under you, and you can even be competitive in practice with your teammates and everyone that you're competing against, and make the best of the situation, hopefully.
Yeah, I didn't mean it like in a negative context. It's still a very good league with unbelievable players. It's just everyone's trying to not be on that team anymore, right? Like that's their goal.
100%. And it's all about being in the right place at the right time. I mean, there's probably 3-4 guys on every AHL team that I honestly think could be playing the NHL at any given time, but maybe they haven't got their break yet. Sometimes a player's one injury on the NHL team away from getting called up and maybe starting his career. I look at Andrew Shaw as the best example I've ever seen of that. He was, I think he signed an AHL deal to start the year, would fight, score in Rockford, and a couple injuries later. He was signing an NHL deal, went up the first game, scored a goal, got in a fight, and I don't think he's ever played in the AHL since. And that's what it takes sometimes. Maybe not everyone's going to get that. I wish I got maybe a couple more of them, but I'm more than happy with the way my career's unfolded so far, and I'm really enjoying it.
Now, this might be a really tough question to answer, but between the two, AHL and KHL, what do you think is the more competitive league?
Oh, the KHL for sure.
Really?
Yeah. For the AHL and KHL, correct?
Yeah.
The competitive for sure. In the KHL, the biggest difference is that maybe the top 3-4 teams in the league are head and heels over the bottom teams, as in the AHL is maybe a little bit more equal, but the KHL is a great league. It's completely, I would say it's more comparable to the NHL than the AHL. But it's not the NHL by any means. It's a completely different style of hockey, bigger ice, more time, and just completely different strategies for each game. But competitiveness, I think it's right there with the NHL. It's got some amazing, great players in the league still.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What is in your world, your hockey world right now? What's going on with the coronavirus and the KHL, and like are you being communicated with as a guy who's part of that league?
Well, how I ended my season was we lost in the first round and got lucky there that we were able to get home. But for right now, I wish I had more information. We normally go back for training camp in the middle of July because it's a 6-week training camp and our season starts September 1st. I mean, personally, am I hoping that we get extended and go back maybe in September? Yeah, because I would love to have a longer summer here and enjoy the real summer months, but no information as of yet. I know Russia's really being affected by the coronavirus right now. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
And then you have, I'm sure you have tons of buddies that you played OHL, AHL, whatever with that are either in the NHL or still in the AHL. And like, how is this affecting everybody? Because I know that my life, which is super simple and does not involve being in good physical fitness or like getting an international passport, is affected by this. So this has to be affecting like that, the whole community, just the unknown of everything.
Yeah. My best friend, Riley Shane, he plays for Edmonton Oilers. We've been next door neighbors since we were 4 years old. I know he's just up in Muskoka right now. He just bought a place there and he's just there killing time, waiting to hear what's going on. I know he's staying in shape, running, using the bike as much as he can, but I don't think he knows anything much more than what we hear on Twitter or whatever the hockey world has to say.
Is it scary for you not knowing like what, like if a season's done, what happens? You know what I mean? Like that has to, or at least run through your mind a little.
If you want me to be honest, I think if anyone's going to play hockey, I think it'll be the Russians. That's my dead honest truth. So I'm still, I talk to my agent once every couple days, and he seems to think, he's from Slovenia, but he seems to think that everything should be on time. Because like I said, I truly don't see Russia canceling anything. I'm hoping that they get their health situation of the whole country in place soon, and hopefully we can play. But past that, I don't know anything more. I obviously hope to play because it's my livelihood and it's how my salary is paid. So that's that would obviously be a big negative if there was a season cancellation. But hoping that doesn't happen.
Now, I want to make sure I got this correct. Did I read correctly? You were in the Gagarin Cup finals 2 years ago?
Yeah.
What's the playoff atmosphere like compared to what you experienced in Nashville? Now you got farther with your KHL team, but what is that emotional like?
It's completely different. It was I'm trying to think. In the conference finals, we played against Ufa, who's the other top team in the Eastern Conference that year. And the atmosphere of the games, I would say, is borderline better than the NHL, because these fans in Russia, like, it's almost like a cult following. Like, they just scream and yell the entire game. Like, no matter if the play's going on, they have their cheers, they got the drums out. It's one of the coolest things that I didn't expect going over there, is how there's some not great atmospheres in some of the smaller, not great cities in Russia, but for the most part, most of the games are unbelievable. The team that we played in the finals, Sieska, that we lost to, Red Army, the most famous Russian team, they played in a brand new big arena that has maybe a different kind of following, and it wasn't as loud as you would hope, but our arena was definitely rocky in the finals. And it was that was a great experience, because that was my first finals experience since I was a lot younger.
Is it so? I've heard this said before, kind of like you described it. It's kind of like a European soccer kind of vibe, like if
Yeah,
that's how you picture it.
yeah, exactly. It's even when we were playing away games, we would probably still have 1,000 to 2,000 people if it wasn't too far from our city. It's actually a really strange story, and probably one of the most like Russian KHL stories you'll hear is I started the season in Kunlun when I went to the finals, and my team Avangard Omsk is supposed to be in Omsk, which is in Siberia. It's in the middle of Siberia. It's one of the most, like, that's where Yager played, so it's one of the most famous Russian teams. But their arena broke in training camp, the foundation of the arena. So in the middle of training camp, they had to find a place to play. And there's this little city called, I still can't pronounce it right, probably, Beleshka, which is just outside of Moscow region. It's probably about 45 minutes just outside. So they moved the whole team, the whole organization, the trainers, anyone involved with the team there, and built the arena. They had an arena built, but they just changed up the whole thing to make it Avangard Omsk and redesigning the whole thing. And so they didn't happen. We would have two followings from the Omsk fans. They would still come everywhere because that's all they have there, which was super cool to have their support. And then we actually got new fans in Moscow too. So we'd have a ton of fans at every game, and the atmosphere would be pretty amazing a lot of the time.
Yeah, two cities. That's perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
That's wicked. You need like a third jersey just for like so the different fans could kind of cheer differently. So, like, you've been a pro hockey player now for what, 9 years, 10 years?
I think this year will be my ninth or 10th season. I should probably add that up, but
yeah,
around there.
So are you thinking like how long are you gonna go? Like, what's the plan?
Well, I just turned 29. I have 2 more years on my contract in Russia, and I'll see where life's at that standpoint with getting married, having kids. And I wouldn't want to have my first kid in Russia, so we'll definitely see what's going on at that point. I would like to get this contract done, maybe max 1 or 2 more years, and then my dream is to play in Switzerland by the time my career is over. So I'd like to say 5 more seasons for sure, and then go from there.
Why Switzerland?
Just I've never heard a bad thing about anyone playing in this league. It's the most beautiful cities in the Alps. This one team, Lugano, for example, it's a 30-minute train ride away from Milan, Italy. You live on lakes, you get cars, apartments paid for, salaries are good, and I think it's just I think the longest trip is 3.5 hours. So you sleep in your own bed every single night, which is something that would be amazing compared to what I'm used to in Russia. There's some pretty long road trips in that sense. And yeah, that's the dream for sure.
So for a few years, I worked at just a local arena here in Niagara, and there was 2 guys in town that had a cup of coffee in the NHL and then played in Europe, and then they were both done. I'd say 27. Their careers were done, but I talked to them, about regrets or whatever. And the one guy said straight up, he was like, "I got to see most of the world playing hockey. Mm-hmm. Like, of course, my dream was the NHL for 20 years and being Wayne Gretzky, but like he was like, I got to see the world playing hockey. Like, mm-hmm. I'm never ever gonna complain about that." For a guy like me, I know that your dream's probably the NHL too. Probably still always will be, no matter what. But like a guy like me, I'm jealous. Like, you're talking about Shanghai and Siberia and like all these cool places. Like, that's a hell of a way to make a living, man.
Yeah, it's certainly been a blast. I'd never thought in my wildest dreams I'd be playing in Russia, and certainly China. and like you said, I've seen almost everywhere. Like this year during the season, one of the best parts about playing in Europe is we have 3 or 4 4-day breaks throughout the season. They're called the national team breaks. But if you're not on the national team, which Canada doesn't have one over in Europe, then you basically get the time off. I got to travel to Milan, Italy, Lake Como, Dubai, and Amsterdam, all during the hockey season. And like you said, I don't know whenever else I'm going to have a chance to do that. So I'm really enjoying every second of playing over there and everything that comes with it, for sure.
Now, you got to wear the Maple Leaf for Canada over there too, right? In something called the Channel 1 Cup, I saw.
Yeah, there was it was leading up to the Olympics, and it was right at the start of our season, kind of like an evaluation camp. Where did I play? It was in St. Petersburg, Russia. And then I played another one that was in Moscow. I think that one was called the Channel 1 Cup. But then I got a little injured right before they were making the team. So that would have been a dream to obviously make the Olympic team, even though it's kind of the B squad, as obviously the NHL players can't go. But we'll see what happens in a couple of years if the NHL guys can go or not. And if they can't, then that's obviously my my next dream, is to hopefully make that team.
Your dreams are cooler than mine. I dream for my kids to go to bed when I ask them to.
I think I'll be there one day.
Taylor, unfortunately, our Zoom meeting is it only gives us so much time, and it's screaming at me right now. I could talk to you forever, man. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the cool stories. And who knows, maybe we can do it again when you're like on a plane over Siberia or something.
There's no Wi-Fi on the Russian planes, actually, or else I would say, but anytime. Love talking to you guys. Really appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, go.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully you got AC in there, buddy.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. All right.
Excuse me. All right.
Zoom tight.
Thank you. Gazoon tight.
Did I say it wrong?
No,
because
I
Zoom.
would Zoom.
Gotcha. It took me a sec. I'm not in full comedy mode. Like, I can't do it.
That's not a joke though, so you don't need to worry about it. You know what it is we got to get to a club.
That's what I mean. I can't get in the full, like, even when I'm writing right now, I'm like, this is shit. Like, I can't even get in the like fun, goofy mood.
I wonder if that's how Taylor feels about the lack workouts that he can do, that the only home base stuff. You know,
Yeah.
I brought that up, like, you know, the Chinese guy. It's interesting what he said about how he thinks Russia's coming back no matter what.
Yeah, because they don't have rules.
I thought they canceled theirs though. I didn't want to ask him, but I thought they canceled the finals.
Oh no, he said he was done after the first round, and so
No, I know that's why he was gone, but
well, they might have. That doesn't mean they're not coming back. Money talks in all those leagues, man. In all those leagues, finances are. And with some of those KHL teams, like, there's some stuff with Russian money, right? Like, that's. I wasn't going to ask a player about it, but
they did cancel it, and they did cancel it all right.
Yeah. What this year though?
This year.
Yeah. The NHL is still trying to keep their TV people happy, like all their contracts, but it's going to be a gong show.
Well, I find it interesting that the U.S. has said, you know, athletes can come in, but Canada hasn't said the same thing. So you're asking a bunch of athletes to come in and be potentially trapped there.
Well, they're not going to. Come into the U.S. Yeah, but they won't use a Canadian city as one of their hub cities.
No, they won't, because Canada's not letting anyone in.
That's what I mean. Yeah, the Canadians that go play can't come home is what you're saying.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, Carey Price goes over to play, he loses in the first round, and now he's got to wait in America during their
like in Las Vegas in a hotel because you can't go anywhere.
Oh, that sounds scary, man.
Right?
That's how the zombie outbreak starts.
Well, and Taylor was just talking about a bunch of people getting hurt because of the distance and stuff that they have to travel. So you're going to get a bunch of professional athletes who haven't done their sport for 2-3 months and then put them into a playoff type scenario. Just watch the ankles break. Everyone's going to get so hurt.
You know what?
It's because it's from 0 to 100, right? Like full intensity.
It's true. That is very true. Especially if players are competitive, they're in the NHL because they're competitive. So of course,
every single person there will, once the puck is dropped, forget, because it's what they were born to do. It's what they've done since they were, like Taylor was just talking about. Yeah, when he was 12, 13, he started working out. It got real.
Yeah, got real.
Since then, for every single one of these guys, that's what they do. They win. They try to win real hard. So it doesn't matter that they're a little out of shape. They're still going to try, and then that's when bad things happen.
That's true. But bad things lead to hopefully not very bad injuries, but it does lead to interesting outcomes.
Oh, it makes unbelievable TV.
It makes brutal for the TV.
Yeah, it's just brutal for the players.
Yeah, and I don't like seeing players get hurt, even though like there are players I don't like in the NHL, like just because of things they've done to my team. It's that
Brad Marchand.
No, it's Zdeno Chara.
You don't like Chara?
Chara bashed Pacioretty's head into the
turnbuckle.
Into the turnbuckle.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah. Actually, I like Chara more because he's a Hall of Famer player. Like I can't take that away from him.
He's a mutant. He's an absolute mutant.
Apparently, he's super smart too.
Okay, have you seen? Did I send it to you? Because this reminded me of Chara. Did I send you the video of the basketball player?
I didn't watch it. I did get.
Okay, we're gonna watch that right now because it's amazing.
That's a kid.
A little shit as he stuffs.
Okay,
driving in. This is not going to end well. Get out of here, you little shit, as he stuffs the fuck out of that little 9-year-old. Big slam dunk from the big man there. Another rejection. I mean, this poor kid, he looks like he was born next to a fucking nuclear power plant. Either that or he's one of those characters you create at 2 in the morning all fucked up when you're playing NBA 2K. But he's actually real life. Doesn't even need to jump when he dunks the basketball. The final score of this game was 37-3. Look at him driving in here, the power. Nobody's going to stop this kid. And my favorite part right here. Obviously tall, lanky, can't shoot for shit, but it doesn't matter. Gets his own rebound and puts it home.
Oh, I don't want to watch that. We don't need to watch. I don't know what's going on there.
Oh, man.
Oh, I was dying
so
last
funny.
night.
I hope that kid, gets the joke of it, though. I really hope that kid.
Well, yeah, that people they're making fun of the situation, not him.
Yeah.
It's just so ridiculous.
We're laughing with you, kid. I hope you know that.
Born next to a nuclear power plant.
I loved him trying to hang on the rim.
But his feet were flat on the ground.
Oh.
It's one of those perfect videos.
It is. It's a perfect video. It's a perfect situation. I hope the kid's okay. I hope he's not like Andre the Giant and dies at 40.
Well, with aggressive alcoholism as well?
No, I think his heart just gave out on him.
Yeah, but he was a massive alcoholic.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Well, I hope this kid doesn't turn out to be a massive alcoholic.
Well, that's what I mean. But they say Andre the Giant did it because he was just in pain all the time because his body was growing, right? Whatever his gigantism, whatever he had, right? Was that not true? Am I making this up? You're looking at me like you should do more research before you say things.
I was thinking we both should do more research before we say things.
I swore I read that somewhere.
I just felt bad for laughing at the kid, and then I brought up his early demise potentially due to his height. You having the moral code now out of nowhere. Come on now. I'm the one laughing at the freak show kid. That's fair. I don't know why I'm getting the moral code.
It's because I said he was from Quebec early.
That's what it was.
You got to stick with your own.
You know why? Because the Star Wars kid was from Quebec, and that kid sued, and his life went.
Star Wars kid.
Do you don't remember the Star Wars kid? Hold up. Oh, I wonder if it's taken down because this kid sued. Star Wars kid.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He's a kid in here. He is.
37 million views or 35. Oh, they've green screened this, haven't they?
Oh, have they?
Like this thing is everywhere.
This was one of the first like viral videos. I think
Really?
it came out of E-Bomb's world. Yeah, this was like
Okay, back. He is serious about it. The khakis, the button down.
So he was a kid in Quebec, and he like borrowed his school's camera.
Yeah,
and left the tape in.
Oh, this was 14 years ago, man.
Oh, at least.
It's been on YouTube.
It's
been on YouTube since 2006.
Yeah, this kid. There's a lot of.
Can we get an update? Like, do we know his name?
We do. It's like Gislan, I want to say. How do I stop sharing?
At the top, there's a little black thing that says "Stop sharing."
Little black.
I can't see it on your screen.
Stop sharing. Oh, it was red.
Sorry,
Yeah.
but like, he's probably like a. Imagine he like. What year was it that Jar Jar Binks that came out?
He's one of those guys. Yeah, he's a law student at McGill University.
But imagine
that was 10 years ago.
Imagine if he like created Jar Jar Binks as a FU to everyone who made fun of him for that. But that was earlier than that, wasn't it?
It was 2002.
Okay. See, I'm not my Star Wars timelines are all.
He was a 15-year-old high school student from Trois-Rivières. Speaking of Trois-Rivières and hockey, they might be getting an ECHL team. I've been hearing rumblings.
Don't they have a Q team?
Trois-Rivières? No.
Yeah, I thought they did for some reason.
I don't think so.
They for sure can't have both.
Why not? Fuck it.
Well, just you won't. Not enough people. You won't put enough people in bums and seats.
Sport. Here we go. Baseball. In ice hockey, they've had several in the LNAH.
Nope, that's not it. I don't know what that is.
That's the Goon League. That was
ECHL?
No, the ECHL is not the Goon League.
It used to be.
Well, it's a Goon League in a way, but like the North American Hockey League or the LNAH is like a total gong show. Is that
the one that Goon is written about?
It's based off of one of the guys
league?
is played in that league. The guys it's based off, and apparently, like the guy who started it was just a goon who was like, "Hey, people like to fight, so let's get a league where that's it. That's the whole premise."
Well, do you remember? I don't even remember when it was, but they were gonna have like a hockey fights like thing, like MMA, but it was gonna be hockey fights.
Really? I don't remember.
Yeah, and I think it got shut down before it happened. But like there was gonna be a legit like 16 guys, one fight a week or something, and like it was gonna be like quarter semis. Like
what a weird like I defend fighting in hockey. I actually think fighting still has a place in hockey. I do.
Yeah.
But I can't defend like just staged fighting on skates.
Just fight then, right?
Yeah, just have a fight. Just start an MMA league.
My basic stance on fighting in hockey is if they get rid of fighting, I'll be like, yeah, okay. I'll still watch hockey because I love hockey. But every single time I'm in a rink and people drop their mitts, I stand up. Like I can't pretend it doesn't get me going. Like it's.
My fear is that without fighting, we're going to see more injuries.
Well, that's up to the refs and the leagues then. They just have to call the game properly, and you won't. If they call the game properly, you won't. But
it's a hard thing to do.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't think there's a perfect way to do it.
No, it's a little self-policing that took place, and we'll see. The game's already changing a bit, and it's going to continue to change. So anyone who fights is going to have to be able to play hockey, period. So
Well, even anyone who did fight, like if you think of old fighters like Probert or Semenko and
Ryan McGrattan.
And
He was a bear.
What was his name?
Domi, Probert.
Leland, Domi. Like all those guys were still awesome hockey players.
Not all of them. McGrattan was hot garbage.
Yeah, but he was still hot garbage for the NHL.
Well, he's better than me.
Yeah.
But yeah, but he wasn't good. Like he wouldn't make the NHL today.
No, for sure. A lot of those guys.
They played their 7 minutes, 6 minutes, and used their ham hands to beat people up.
Have
That's
you
what
seen
they did?
The documentary about fighters? The Ice
Yeah,
Guardians?
yeah.
Yeah, really good doc.
Yeah, Ice Guardians. That's right. Yeah. Interesting. And I don't minimize those guys. They're tough as nails, and they did a job to get paid and whatever, man. That's where I get weird because I'm like, no one should be getting a concussion or CTE just to punch someone. But then I go to a game, and when a fight breaks out, it's exciting as hell.
But if you want to remove concussions and CTE, you got to remove all hitting.
Yes, I agree. But
it's not hits to the head; it's hits to the body.
But the argument would be that is at least a part of the game, like the designed game.
But so is fighting.
No, it wasn't part of the designed game. It wasn't in the original rules. It's okay to fight.
Well, no, it's always not been okay to fight. It's always been a penalty.
Well, yeah. So yes. Well, what the OHL basically doesn't have fights anymore because they just made the penalties more severe, right?
Yeah, isn't it something like if you fight like 5 times in a season, you get it's 3? That's it.
3 you get a 1 game suspension. On your third after your third fight, you get a 1 game suspension. Then after your 4th fight, it's like 1 or 2 games. Your 5th fight, it's like 5 games. Like it gets exponentially worse after your 3rd. But if you were instigated upon, it doesn't count as one of your fights.
Yeah, but let's be honest. How often are they getting that right?
Well,
are they getting that right? Maybe I should be asking. Are they getting that right?
So now in today's game, almost every fight has an instigator because the instigator is the penalty that they give to make sure. So it's never an even up fight anymore.
Really?
Someone always gets a power play out of it. And that's what the refs on the ice are doing to try to minimize the fighting. They're saying if you fight, you're going to be on the penalty kill. Like if you pick a fight with him, you're getting the an extra 2. And then what happens because they put instigator on the game sheet, the one guy gets the fight which could add up to the suspension, but the other guy doesn't. So the league is trying to get rid of fighting by suspending them. The refs are trying to get rid of fighting by penalizing them on the ice. But what they're doing by penalizing on the ice in game is minimizing the suspension. So
right.
It's just 2 things working against each other.
Well, as long as it's kind of a workaround. And don't get me wrong, people have obviously been horribly injured by fighting and even killed by fighting on the ice. And that's all horrible. But, Clint Malarchuk had his neck slit open just by accident. Like, it's a dangerous game.
Tucker Tynan this year, man. I was on the radio when that kid's leg was destroyed. And that was one of the worst things I've ever seen. I can't imagine, now that I've seen that, and I've seen the video of Clint Malarchuk, I can't imagine what it was like in that arena that day when that happened. Because I've seen the leg of Tucker Tynan. If it was the neck, like with a no offense.
No, I know what you're talking about, but this was the kid, the goalie who got crashed into in Niagara, and they believed his artery was severed, but I guess that wasn't the case or something.
No, at the time everyone thought so, and it looked like it. But yeah, it was London Knights, Niagara Ice Dogs in Niagara this year. I mean, it was on Hockey Night in Canada. It went all over the world.
Oh yeah,
and if people watch hockey, they saw it. So he's doing good though. I talked to him a few weeks ago.
Really?
I was texting with him like 3 or 4 weeks ago. He's on a bike. He's running now. He's
That's
expecting
awesome.
to be 100% by September if camp happens. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Good
Small
for him.
victories there, right?
Hey, I'd rather have him back in the crease than.
Oh, I know the Ice Dogs would.
Yeah. He could be a big help.
I'm going to have to post some Ice Dog stuff behind me. It's all Blue Jays. And I got Ice Dog stuff in my room here, but none of it's hanging up.
Well, you got to get some dog stuff up.
For next time. What do I got over here? Oh, see? That magazine will go up. Nice. Hang that up.
There you go. The first game.
Yeah. I also, for every year I've covered the team, I buy their hockey cards. So I want to, like, do something with those.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Kind of like that post you have behind you of albums, but with the cards.
Yeah, it would look similar.
Right? I was too dumb to get like them to sign them the year I covered it, though, right? Like tons of guys that are going to be in the NHL or already are, like Brendan Perlini, Josh Osang, Vince Dunn, like all so dumb. Like I interviewed them twice a week. Could have just said scribble on this.
My dad has a signed puck from is it Stefan LeBlanc? The kid who
Legion?
quit. Stefan Legion.
Legion.
Yeah,
He's
he has a son.
Mess.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah. Last I heard, he had got clean and sober. So I hope the best for him. And that he was coaching. He was doing some video for the Mississauga Ice. Or frig, I can't believe I just said that. Mississauga Steelheads. He was doing something with them, but that was a few years ago. At least 2 years ago. I haven't heard from him since. But you know, hopefully sorted.
I didn't realize that was it. Obviously, I'm cutting this stuff out.
Pardon?
I said I'm obviously cutting this stuff out.
Why?
Because it's not our business to not that it's a rumor, but it's not our business to be like, hey, remember that guy? Yeah, his life shit. Like
No, it wasn't a rumor. Sportsnet did like a 5-page article on him.
Oh, really? Eh?
Like sorting out and getting sober. And I shouldn't say I don't know if it was alcohol or pills or what, but it was getting sober, whatever the vice was.
Yeah, because he was great as a.
He was unreal.
Player. He was incredible. That's why my dad wanted him to sign the puck.
All talent, no drive, right?
Yeah.
But I've said this before, and a lot of the kids around the OHL are great. Some aren't. But if you've been told you're the best since you were 6, at 16 you'd be a dick too.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Like if and no matter what it is, tennis, basketball, hockey, someone says since you're 6 years old, you're amazing, you're going to go to the NHL, and then you're literally almost at the NHL, like that's going to screw with your head, man.
Then why is it that for whatever reason, the best of the best never seem to be dicks?
Because they're not motivated by that, and that's why they're the best of the best.
Ooh.
Well, Michael Jordan was a dick. You watched The Last Dance, didn't you?
I didn't watch it, no, because I don't care about basketball. But
you should still watch it, though. If you like sports at all, you should watch it.
I mean, I watched the Bulls in the '90s. I watched.
No, it's about the psychology of a nutter, an absolute nutter.
They got to go into the gambling and stuff then.
They go a little bit into it, but it's more about how like he took the tiniest personal slight as motivation to beat you next time. Like the most ridiculous things. Like he would like make up reasons to hate you so he could beat you more.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like he's like, it's not okay. Like everyone's talking about how he's so great, and I'm like, did we watch the same thing? Like he's unstable.
Well, that's what it takes to be great.
Exactly.
For him. But my point is in hockey you never see that. Like you never hear Gordie Howe was a dick, Wayne Gretzky was a dick.
Lindros was a dick.
Not one of the greatest.
Well,
Lindros isn't in anyone's
I was just trying
hand.
to think of someone I knew.
There have been dicks. Yeah, there have been good dicks. Like, don't get me wrong. But
yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe it's the culture of the sport, the culture of the small towns they grew up in. Maybe it's, I don't know.
Because it would break my heart after all those Tim Hortons commercials to find out Sid Crosby was a dick or Nathan McKinnon was a dick.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never met either one of them.
I'm not suggesting you're calling them a dick. I'm just saying that.
It would just crush your.
Just like, oh man, not those two.
No, most of the guys who were like really good that I've covered, like really good. I mean, when I talk to them, I've got my media badge on, right? So they're
Right.
in full PR mode. Like Connor McDavid was one of the nicest guys I ever spoke to multiple times, right? Like whenever he came into town, because he was always who everyone wanted to talk to. He was unreal. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he was a robot. He just said his lines that his PR coach told him to say, but he was grateful and did it without complaining. So
I bought 8 tickets to the last game of the season he didn't show up to.
He showed up.
Yeah, but he wasn't. He was
sick. Yeah, he was up in the press
he
box.
Was healthy.
Yeah, in Niagara.
And Dylan Strome got 8 points that night.
To pass him, didn't he?
Pass
For
him.
the league scoring.
So it was still a cool game. Like, at least we were like, oh, that's still cool. We got to see history. But we were all like, we're here to see Connor fucking McDavid.
Yeah, his last game in the regular season game. Last one in Niagara anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. That was fun. Taylor Beck was awesome.